Welcome, everyone, to the very first ever Through Our Lens podcast.
Woo! Yeah! We're here. We're live.
We are here. We are live. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is a brand new show that we're introducing into the Scoped podcast universe, and I am extremely excited. This is our, there's been a lot of things leading up to this moment, and I'm very excited to finally be here and sitting down with my wonderful, as always, co-host, Jessa Johnson. Thank you for joining me. And
hello.
Jessa, do you want to intro what Through Our Lens is and what people can expect?
Sure. So Through Our Lens is going to be a new show in the Scoped universe, a little bit more up-to-date info and chats about what's happening in hardcore through our lens from where we sit. Because if there's one thing that I personally have learned, especially over the pandemic and just getting back out into the world, it's that we all have a very unique and different perspective depending on where we're at, who we're friends with, what's on our radar, what's on our feeds every week. And we want to create a space to talk about that just a little bit. And talk about things happening all over the place, mainly North America. We want to touch as much as we can on Canada, particularly Western Canada, because that is where we both are located. And that's how Scope started in the first place, was to document what's going on up here. Of course, that's turned into a much bigger thing in the last couple of years, but we want to kind of stick true to those roots and talk as much about Canada as we can. Might get into a little bit of Canadian history at some point when it comes to hardcore, and just chat about the shit going on. On our timelines and in our world. So
I think how I viewed this whole thing from my angle is I always would see stuff, would get excited about things, but always felt constrained to who I was interviewing as far as guest wise. And I was just looking for that right way to kind of have something that was a little bit more timely, more like not like a newscaster kind of thing. And then, Jessa and I we would spend hour-long phone calls that I'm like, this is just what this podcast or show needs to be. So I'm really excited to be finally doing it. We got a hefty doc of a bunch of different things that we are going to get to. But this might be a new show to the Scoped Exposure podcast universe, but the thing that will not change is when we do a bev check before we get into the meat of the episode. So Jessa, how about you go first for bev checks?
I was going to bring something a little more spicy because it's Sunday night. And I like to have a little bit of red wine on Sunday nights usually, but we're not today. It's all about the liquid death. Shocker. Are we surprised?
Shocker.
Absolutely not. I've just been having a real healthy day today, and I don't feel like fucking that up with sugary or alcohol or anything. So we're going to stick to the tried and true.
Can I confess something to you? I had a very unhealthy Saturday. I missed lunch and I had I was like, I'm skipping food. And when you're like, I'm adding something to the list so I get free delivery if it's over $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I literally ordered a double Beyond Meat burger from A&W, and then to get the free delivery, I ordered pancakes on top of it. And I've never in my life ate pancakes and a burger and yam fries all in one go, but for some reason it worked out. But I've had literally the opposite weekend as far as health wise.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what's your bev?
Sunday night. Just gonna relax and chill. So I'm drinking a Green Demon from New Level, the blueberry or blue raspberry lemonade sour. So we're just gonna chill out. I think we recorded a first episode, and I think I was just like a little nervous with this new show, and I was like, I need to fucking chill, let
Right?
Jessa kind of take the reins and just kind of vibe out. So I'm going to be drinking that and cheersing you to this big old adventure that we're doing with this show.
Happy first episode. Cheers.
Happy first episode, absolutely. And as
I do
always,
have
Jordan is here as
Hi
well. Shout out to Jordan,
Jordan.
who's
Our
helping us
producer
set this
Jordan's
whole thing
here.
up.
Hell yeah. I have I should have grabbed it. I know I just said I'm trying to be healthy, stick with the water, but I have one last can of heavy metal horchata in the fridge from New Level
Oh,
that I
it's a
just
great flavor. I have
have
one in
it.
my
It's
fridge as well.
delicious. It's delicious. I just haven't found the occasion. Should have been this. Maybe next time.
You
Next
haven't
week.
found the horchata occasion? Not just
No.
yet.
No, not
Um,
quite yet.
yeah. So again, this is going to be I think one of the main things that I think we both really wanted to talk about as far as the time we're recording this is LDB Fest is like right up and around the corner, and we're going to
Fuck
be
yeah,
kind of going
baby.
through that list. Jessa is actually going to be going to LDB, so I think we're kind of going to make some not like necessarily like just predictions, but just talk about the lineup and the significance of each specific band and what went into those, or what we think goes into those, and then probably the second episode of this will be the recap
Oh,
and other
you'll
things.
get a
But
mosh report for
yes,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're from Winnipeg hardcore, you know the value of a good curated written mosh report. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so before we get into that, there's a couple pieces in the doc that we're going to get to first. So, Jessa, how about you take away what's first on our chopping block?
We got a couple things, but like, how's your week going? What's up? What's
That's
up with
true.
you?
I totally
Anything
forgot we were going to do
new?
like a vibe check. Um,
We absolutely need a
we
vibe
had the
check.
bev check
What's
and then
your
the vibe
vibe?
check.
What's
My
up?
vibe is good. I have a lot of things going on at all times, and
You and I
I
both, my
think
friend.
yes. I have a work trip in LA in a couple weeks, so I've just been
Mm,
like head down,
that's
lots
right.
lots of, you know, it's one thing when you do a music podcast and everyone's super chill, and there's that comes with its own set of challenges, but when there's like the podcast that I do for work is a little bit more businessy and there's more yellow tape at times. So kind of just been navigating through that. Writing a lot of music for Endgame, and kind of planning out a couple things. Doggos are good. So yeah, I would say, you know, I'm definitely in a season and feeling the anticipation of my summer and fall being very, very busy. But looking forward to that for sure, especially coming out of like the winter months and the very cold temperatures, and tons of shows in the mix coming up. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm hopeful. I would say that.
Yeah,
How about you?
cool. Same thing. Just busy. Trying to balance my time better. Uh, we went from doing absolutely nothing to doing the most, which has been crazy. The last 6 months have just been nuts. I've been traveling a ton. And so finally getting my footing with that, I think, learning how to go in and out of vacation mode and things like that a little
Mhm.
bit smoother. Of course, getting ready to head down to LDB. Gonna hit up Vegas before Dan, like a friend of ours that Dan, shout out, who I'm going
Shout
down
out to
down there
Dan.
with. We just decided to go to Vegas before LDB because if we're crossing the border, may as well get some sun. Am I right?
Yes.
Kentucky is not us, Canadians go there in the winter destination. It's pretty much the same weather that we get here in Calgary right now. So maybe a little bit warmer, but not by much from my
Just a
memory.
little bit warmer.
Not by much. Very much winter. So yeah, we're heading down there. Get to catch the Drain Pain of Truth Ingrown tour a couple days early before the fest, which is cool. It's always fun to pop in on a show that's like headed to the fest you're going to.
Yeah.
So that should be good. It's going to be really dope to see that lineup in such a smaller environment. I think we'll
Right.
get into that a little bit when we get into the LDB chats, but I think it's going to be a different world this year. So to be able to see those three bands And to see Vegas hardcore. I love checking out new hardcore scenes, and I've been to Vegas, but I've never been to a show in Vegas, so it should be fun.
Yeah. I like the
And
whole like see you at the fest in like
see you
3
in a
days
couple
or 4
days.
days.
Drive safe.
Literally that.
I'm flying Spirit Airlines in a few days, so who has it worse? Who's the real loser here? Um,
God,
it's me. I'm the real loser. I'm gonna get paid to drink
that's
a
so
glass of
funny.
water on that flight, or get charged rather. But yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. Went record shopping this week, which I want to do a show and tell. Can I do a show and
Yeah,
tell?
please. Show and tell.
All right.
I also
Perfect.
want to when you grab it, do you have the records ready to go?
Oh, they're here. I'm
Oh, okay.
prepared.
I was just gonna say, in between our prep for this call, I was on the phone with Dan, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm imagining Jessa showing up, and then I'm just like at like a like a casino table, and I've spent all my savings." And I'm like, "Bro, you can't do that." He's like, "No, no, I've set a hard $200 $300 limit."
We decided that we're gonna play a bunch of penny slots, and then
Mhm.
any money that we win. So I love like I don't sound like I'm gambling at it. I love gambling. I have fun gambling though. Like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people our age, like either you
Mhm.
don't do or you don't, or you've just never gambled because we've always had the internet. It's like
Right.
I, but living in Canmore at the age I did, we used to go out to the casino all the time, and I just like have this weird love for gambling and playing blackjack in particular. So we promised ourselves that uh we can only play, we set our budget for the penny slots, and we can only play tables with money that we win on penny slots, like almost like it's a game.
Mhm.
So we'll see how that goes. Don't
I have an
know.
idea.
What is it?
What's the game where it's like whether the ball lands on black or red? It's like
Roulette?
win lose. Yeah. If
Roulette, yeah.
I'm gonna send you $100, and you and I want you to put it on black because I'm wearing a black hoodie,
Okay.
and then we will
Yeah, bet.
discuss if that's going. I'm literally sending it to you right now.
Are you- Yes, I love it. Okay. That's so funny.
This is irresponsible. I've taken like 4 sips of this, and I'm already making irresponsible decisions.
No, I love it. That's so funny.
Were you
Hilarious.
gonna do
Okay,
any
so
roulette yourself? And I let
Dan's
me preface this. I am
Dan's the
not a
roulette
gambler
guy.
by any means. I'm just feeling
We'll see how it goes.
I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling
Yeah.
lucky. I'll just say
All
that.
right. Sure. Yeah, let's fuck.
All
Listen,
right.
here's the thing. If I win anything more than 10 grand, uh
I have to send it to you later. I don't have your email on
if
my
I win
bank stuff.
anything more, okay, maybe not 10 grand. We're gonna pick a number. If I win anything more than that, it's your money ultimately, but we're gonna split it 50-50 if I win a significant amount of money.
Well,
Right?
I'm thinking we just do it once versus how high can it go.
Oh, you just want like $100
I
down
just
on
want
that
a
table. We
one
just
and
play
done.
once.
Just one and done.
Honestly, sure. Fuck yeah, let's go.
You could take
That'll
a
be
finder's
fun.
fee. I don't care about that.
All right. All right, we'll see how it goes. Dan's gonna have fun with that one because
Yeah.
he really loves roulette. I don't know if he's
Yeah.
ever played it, but he seems to really like roulette. All
Yeah.
right, record time.
Record time.
So I went down to Sloth in Calgary. Anybody that's been in Calgary for a while, you should know what Sloth Records is. Right here in Beltline. They Derek used to put on shows there in Calgary. For those of you who know Derek Burns from Mortality Rate, he used to, before the pandemic, they used to have hardcore shows there, and it was always very fun. I know you've played there a couple times.
Yeah, there's a lot of scope sets at that spot, so you know, you don't have to dig too deep to find it.
No, so I try to, especially now, just with everything after the pandemic. Like I'm very, very, very lucky to have come out of the pandemic with a great job that I love, and I am very feeling very stable. So I try to support them as much as I can. Usually about once a month, I try to go and do a little bit of a haul. So I did that, and I usually just kind of see what stands out to me, and I don't go in there with like in search of anything. I'll go out of my way to go there if I'm really looking for something, but I usually just like to see what they get. And I got home and I usually like to take a look at what I ended up with when I get home, and I realized uh, that I just ended up with a ton of New York hardcore, and I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. It's just what happened. At the end of the day, there was a bunch of other stuff I was gonna grab, but I went with 4 this time, and they all happened to be New York, New York hardcore. So I'm gonna start with some 7 inches. Both a lot of these are triple B releases. Shout out to Sam at Triple B, always doing the most. So first is this Ikulu 7 inch, half alive. Um, I fucking love this so much, and um, is this a demo? I believe it's their demo. That solidified that like I'm going to love this band, and they can, in my eyes, at this point almost do no wrong. Uh Full length LP that came out in 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty
Yep.
sure it came out last year.
Unscrew my head.
Chef's Kiss. Mwah. And I knew it was going to be good because of this 7
Yeah.
inch. So shout out Ikulu. Next is I'm not going to say a friend of the pod, but I am going to say that I do
Friend of the
very
show.
much, yes, admire.
Yeah, we could say friend of the show.
Okay. So Colossus, New York hardcore, released on Triple B as well. Tom from Indecision is in this band. A couple of
Axe
other
Grind.
Yeah, members of Mind Force as well, I believe, if I'm not making that up. If you haven't checked this 7 inch out yet, please do yourself a favor and do it.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
I put that record on my
end of the year.
up for top EPs of the year. Yeah.
Martin, we're busy. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's so good. He can't even hear me, but he knew. He knew.
He knows.
And Mind Force, Excalibur. It's just upside down. There it is. Huge band for me. Really, really, really fucking love Mind Force. Saw them live at FYA for the first time. Like, just so good. I've got something that will be announced in the future that Mind Force is a part of. So I was just really excited to find this. And this was released on Triple B as well in 2020. Yeah. Excalibur came out in 2020.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it might have been early last year, but please do in the meantime. One of my favorite full lengths in the last couple of years. Just very, very Hudson Valley, and just a great record. So for those of you who are very clearly sleeping.
Is that the live on Axe Grind one?
No.
Oh, that's weird. I think the artwork maybe is something I don't see on Spotify.
Oh.
Anywho, you know,
it's 2020.
I think 2019 or 28. It says 2018 for Excalibur. That's why.
Okay, well, the last couple of years have been a blur. Not an encyclopedia. And then last but certainly absolutely not least, Gorilla Biscuits, released on Revelation Records. This is something I'm going to bring up in a couple of weeks that I can't quite bring up yet, but there is I felt like there's been a project that I've been working on, and the name that we decided on is drawn from the 7-inch, and days after we made that decision, I'm in Sloth and I come across this exact 7-inch, the only Gorilla Biscuits record in that whole store, and it was like a sign to me, so had to pick that up. Of course, the artwork on this is fucking dope too. That I had never actually paid attention. I've listened to the 7-inch a couple times, but had just like never really taken note. So that's my last piece of my haul. That's it for me. But that was my week, was New York hardcore by accident
That's sick.
and
I
checking out
I've
soccer
gotten
games.
to actually connect with Jordan, who runs Revelation. He's a part of a work thing that I'm doing, so I'm gonna have
Nice.
to talk. I get to see the Rev spot in a couple weeks, so if
Oh,
there's some others of those records, maybe I'll have to snag one while I'm down there, and then we get some
that
matching.
would be very cool. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
very cool.
I definitely
Awesome.
have not like gone record shopping myself in the longest time, and I think it's because our record player broke, and then I've just been too lazy to try and figure out fixing it or a workaround. But it's definitely something that I need to get back into, and just
I
not like
didn't
I have
for a
to
really
have the
long
giant
time.
collection, but just to
Yeah,
have it, you know?
I didn't for a really long time, and then um I have this thing that you'll probably hear me talk about a lot, but I just every time I see merch that's not a t-shirt or a hoodie, I get so excited. It could be a coffee mug, a cozy, a side bag, I don't care what it is. If it's something that's not a shirt or a hoodie, I get very stoked. And that's just because like I'm in my bedroom recording this right now, and it's like I just have so many band t-shirts I don't wear. Like I've moved across the country. I'm not one of those people that's got like Rubbermaid bins on Rubbermaid bins of old t-shirts from 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Thank
Not
God.
all of us can be Wolf.
No disrespect, like that's great. That's really awesome for a lot of you who do have that. Not for me. Um, but I already have I have too much. So I found myself, instead of just complaining, being like, t-shirts, I was like, why aren't I just buying records? And I never used, because they're a pain in the ass to travel with. So if you only have, like a carry-on size luggage or a backpack, it's like near impossible to get through an airport with a full like a full 12-inch. Like it's just hard. So I never really used to buy them, but I found myself just like making the space or grabbing them, sending them back to myself before I leave that city or whatever it is, however I'm doing it. But found myself buying records at shows a lot more lately. And that just like got me back into actually going out and record shopping as a pastime, a fun pastime. So
Yeah.
it's been good.
Yeah,
I have
and
a
it's definitely the one way to just keep shit rolling,
yeah,
despite if shows or tours are being canceled. So,
yeah,
even though it's been very hard with just vinyl delays and all that stuff for bands trying to do shit. So, but yeah, it's sick. Buy records, buy shirts, or buy both. Buy both.
yes, always.
Speaking
So
of records,
speaking of records, I this week wanted to shout out Insight Records, which was just announced as a new label in out of Atlanta, Georgia. Um, Friend of the show, friend of Scoped, Luke Cave, um, started that. They've got a couple releases on the go already. I believe the upcoming Strangle You release is going to come out on Insight as well. So I just
hmm
wanted to shout out Luke and Insight and wish him the best of luck with that. That's really fucking cool. I love seeing people um, contributing in that way. I feel
right?
like I talk about it a lot, that zines and small labels, I think, need a comeback in
Yeah,
a post COVID world. Not that they really went anywhere, but um, it's always just very exciting. So
I think it's always cool to be able to like instead of and I'm speaking from experience here as someone who's put out self released something, but I don't have anything
mm,
tied to it. But at least if you have like a homies label or like someone to actually like make the physicals, whether that's tape CDs or something in between, um, it's always just makes it's cooler just having that little like extra logo that you can put on there, or like when you're
yeah.
doing it for Spotify, it's like, oh yeah, this is part of Insight versus just
Mm.
like band name and then the year that I put it out. So
Well, I
sorry, you go.
think it's important to note too that like every big label was just a small label releasing their homies music at some point.
hmm Absolutely.
Triple B was just a small label releasing his homies music that he thought was cool at one point. Bridge 9. was just a small label just releasing homies music at one point. So
Mhm.
it all starts somewhere. But yeah, just really, really fucking dope to see that.
Yeah. And all of those labels you mentioned, and even adding like Revelation in the midst of that, like most of those people didn't have the aspirations for it to explode to what it is. Usually it's
Hmm.
just one killer release and one killer band that takes it to that next level and almost like
Yeah.
forces you to grow with the growth of that band, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. So yeah, shout out to Luke. Big fan of his bands, big fan of whatever he does. All the stuff that Jessa and I are going to be mentioning, I'm going to put it in the show notes. So you know you're going to have a bunch of easy links to get to everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of links, shall we talk about the link that takes us to a video of a kid crowd killing for the first time?
Absolutely, we should.
Was that a good
Absolutely, we
segue, or
should.
is that like really
Sure.
stretching it?
Nah, could be better, but that's fine. We'll take it.
So I think because we were trying to have some setup, this is a little bit of behind the scenes. We are trying to have some setup as far as how we can watch stuff and react to it, but I think we're still figuring out some of the technical things about how we do that podcast. So maybe I'll cut in here and we'll watch the video, but both of us have already seen it. So, you know, for those that are unaware, there's a band from California called Momentum that was playing a string of shows, and someone, friend of yours, Jessa, got a funny
Yeah.
video of a very young whippersnapper who was encouraged for crowd killing, and maybe you can explain this a little bit better than I is. Obviously, people are going to watch the video, but yeah,
Yeah,
add some details from your side.
for sure. So, friend of mine, Taylor, went a little bit micro viral, I'm gonna call it, on twitter.com and TikTok a little bit this week, because she brought her son Henry to a show, as she does. Henry is no he's 7, I think. I want to say 7. I should have checked that before we even started recording, but second or third grade, if that. Um, and he's been going to
That's so
shows with his
sick.
mom and his his mom's friends his whole life. I remember, like, I've seen pictures of Henry at shows since he was a toddler with big ass headphone, like, earplugs on his head. um and so I'd like to get Henry on the show one day, just to see what his favorite bands are. um but I guess the time has come, and his mom finally let him mosh, which was so wholesome. And
Very wholesome.
of course, like, really tugged on everyone's heartstrings on Twitter this week. Particularly, I mean, it's just a heavy time. We're recording this at the end of very end of February in 2022. So just like as far as globally goes, there's just some really heavy stuff happening. So I think we all needed the smile this week. So let's take a look at that video, and yeah,
Yeah,
let's check it out.
yeah. Let's cue that up. Who's the guy holding? Like he's like kind of walking him to different people
Yeah,
because
I
he's
think it's
like, get
yeah,
him.
yeah, I don't know exactly who the other people in the video are. I know that the guy that's walking behind him is, like, I believe, just a friend of theirs, just making
Mhm.
sure that he was in fact safe. I think that everybody, especially in that scene there, I think a lot of people are familiar with seeing him around. So
Mhm.
I can't imagine that anybody would decide to crowd kill the child, but better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
uh Better safe than sorry. But the I believe it was the caption of the tweet, but his mom did say, this was his bet. His name's Henry. Henry's like the best day of his life. because he's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
waiting
Literally the
years to
best night
mosh.
in his life. He's been waiting for years to quote unquote mosh. Um,
Yeah,
and it's hilarious because like I think we've all seen either in person or through like a live video where there's like the person's kid side stage and they have the big ass like
yeah,
construction like headphones because you know they don't want to, you know, we've all damaged our ears by not wearing ear protection at shows, and at the very least we can kind of like make sure our offspring aren't doing that. So I think
yeah.
we've all seen that, but to see them, you know, just being encouraged just to like, you know, throw arms and stuff. Like obviously, like it's wholesome as fuck. There's no
Yeah,
like maliciousness to it. There's no like, oh, this is a whole thing. But naturally, as things on the internet go, there's always the side of people who are like, yo,
of
this is
course.
really, really funny. And then there's people who have something to say on a negative side.
I straight up I said as soon as I knew it was going on TikTok or saw it on TikTok, I was like, "Oh, you're gonna piss off so many TikTok moms. There's gonna be so many TikTok moms that are like, why are you letting that little boy in there?" But
Yeah.
I made a joke, and it wasn't even a joke. I made a comment, let's say, about how give it like a couple of years, and I was like, Henry's gonna be a harder mosher than all of y'all. Wait until he's 12. Everyone in Arizona's fucked.
We're not
Kid's gonna
ready
be the
for
hardest.
hardcore Henry.
He's gonna be absolutely not. He's gonna be the hardest kid in the Southwest for
hard
sure.
Hard Henry. Oh, jeez. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I have the screenshot here from some of the comments, and it's like, no, you're raising him to be a crowd killer. And then someone else commented, stop normalizing crowd killing. It's like
Stop. That was so funny to me. Stop normalizing crowd killing.
I'm
Absolutely.
I'm
No
I
thanks.
hate to break it to you,
Sorry.
but crowd killing is already kind of normalized. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cue the never mind.
Wah, wah, wah. Also, someone said
uh
L parents. Like the parents take an L or it's grade like
yeah,
L
lost
tier?
it
I don't
like
know.
who knows. Yeah, it's always just really wholesome to see kids at shows because it's like those are, I mean, here's the thing though. I think something that we've learned too is that like having having parents who are into hardcore and punk doesn't necessarily that like mean that kid is going to be into hardcore and punk. Like I feel it a lot now because we're all getting to that age where all of our friends are having kids and they're all still, I'm like in my late 20s. I'll be 28 this year. So like all my for the most part, my friends' kids are all toddlers and babies still.
Mhm.
Definitely no teenagers in the mix quite yet as far as like my friends go, especially my friends in hardcore, but it's a hit or miss for sure of whether your kid is going to grow up going to shows and then find their own way in that, or
Right.
say like, ugh, I had to do this my whole life because my parents like it. Like I'm just gonna go listen to SoundCloud rap or something.
Yeah, like I've had people on the podcast here who are like, I'm into music because I had like my dad was into punk or my mom was.
Yeah.
And then there are people that natural like there's someone like myself, like none of my parents listened to any of that. Like maybe the hardest stuff that my dad was listening to was like Bon Jovi. But and then there's like kind of another thing where it's like a parent could have some ties to heavy music, but that could actually mean so like I'm forgetting who it was, but someone who recently came on the podcast said that they originally didn't get into heavy music because their parents were so into that. And they're like, you know, naturally we just do the
Yeah.
opposite of whatever. But then eventually kind of made their way
That was
back to it.
probably me. That was my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was literally like, ugh, I'm gonna listen to Young Money. That was me. I
Young
still listen to
Money.
Young Money. Full disclosure, I still listen to Young Money. That hasn't changed. I've just added to my repertoire.
Yeah.
Speaking of though, I think that's a perfect segue into what we've got up next because I think that this thing is a gateway into hardcore for a lot of people. And I think young people, particularly, maybe it's kids growing up, but it's pro wrestling um, is the same way that, Tony Hawk Pro Skater had introduced heavy music of any kind to a lot of people when we were preteens, teenagers, young kids. I think that wrestling did the same thing as well. Um, and a really amazing, beautiful documentary about Brody King, All Hail, came out this week, and it's put out by it's a Crucible Productions and made by a filmmaker named Dylan Shell. It's really, really beautifully done. If you like wrestling, which I do, have you ever been to wrestling? Have you WWE? Was that like wrestling ever on
Are
your
you asking
radar? I know
me?
you're a big, yeah, I'm asking you. I know you're a big like gamer guy, but I don't know if those two worlds ever
Honestly,
meet.
no. I think there
Okay,
was
fair enough.
never a time where, like, I think even just any sports related video games, like I would play like the NHLs because I think that is like it's in you to like at least play one of those games if you're Canadian.
At least,
Um,
yeah.
but I never really got into that, and I think the wrestling and hardcore connection has always like it's been in my peripheral and I see it, but I've never actually like allowed it to um to actually do my research and kind of look into it. So, this portion of like this podcast was like all Jessa, but I'm like here to be kind of an observant like listener and learn some of these things. Like I would see for myself, I would see things like, when Every Time I Die did their like did the season shows, they would have
Mhm.
like wrestling stuff in between. I'm like, okay, this is like these worlds are colliding and have collided
Yeah,
for a long, long time. And I think that they're with anything is when two forces come together, there's spillovers into each category. So
yeah.
when you send me this documentary, like you're speaking to me as like filmmaker Spencer as well. So I'm like, oh, now this is something that I just want to watch just because to learn a little bit about the story of it. But
Yeah.
to have you know uh, live video in this documentary to kind of showcase that culture in to all the wrestling fans is like it's really cool. So I'm really happy that you put me onto this because I am gonna. You said you've watched this 3 times already.
Yeah, you didn't have to expose me like that. But yeah, I when it first came out, it came across my Twitter feed or something like right away. And then so I watched it, but I was working at the time. Um so I had it on kind of in the background, and then I watched it later that afternoon when I had time to watch it with my eyes and not just like listen to it and like half watch it. And then it was just so good. But then I watched it again today in preparation for this podcast. So um, yeah, it's really well done. We'll link it in the description of the bio. We've pulled a clip to play here just so you can kind of this was the whole thing is incredible, especially if you follow wrestling and you've been very excited about the recent induction of Brody King into AEW. um, I will go fully on record and say that AEW is probably one of the best things to happen to pro wrestling. I love the company is just like doing a fantastic job. I really loved WWE. I come from a wrestling family. My cousin's a wrestler and a wrestling promoter, and so it was
How
something
have I
that was kind
never
of
known this about you, Jessa?
because of this fact. Along with the Young Money phase, I also stopped caring about anything cool. So I lost my like spark for wrestling of any kind really when I stopped, watching Monday Night Raw with my brother, and
Mm.
I got old enough to go out and be doing other things. And it wasn't until fair recently ish that AEW honestly is what reignited my love for wrestling, because they just do such a good job. And I've now have friends in hardcore who like wrestling as much as I do, and it's just been really, really fun to like get back into it and like start following it again and really, really being invested um in the pro wrestling world again in a way that I wasn't for most of my adult life. So that's why you didn't know that about me, is because it's a newly renewed love of mine. But again, cousin's a wrestling promoter. I grew up watching wrestling, and so of course, Mr. Brody King of God's Hate is now wrestling for AEW, which is just like so incredible to see, because it's somebody that I've because of hardcore have had on my radar as an indie wrestler for a couple of years now. And I think collectively wrestling fans within hardcore are like feeling this excitement of being able to watch Brody wrestle uh, in a company like AEW. It's just been really cool. So we're gonna play that clip because I think it's really, really, really resonated with me. Speaking on the correlation between hardcore and wrestling and just the inherent violence of it all uh, is awesome. So take a listen to this clip that I pulled.
There's a lot of similarities between hardcore and wrestling. Selling yourself as a product is, from being in a band and making merch and creating music to, making merch and creating a match. Like, they're very similar. In music, you want, especially in hardcore music, you want that aggression or you want that release. And in wrestling, you want that same thing. There's this like raw feeling at like an independent wrestling show that you can't get anywhere else. You gotta watch out for people diving. You gotta watch out for people's arms swinging. And that's what we're used to in hardcore shows. I want to be in the shit. I want to be getting swung at, getting dived at. I want to be able to, get up on stage and do whatever they're doing.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that, and feel like this is the Padawan moment for Spencer, where maybe this is the turning point of me getting a little bit more versed in the wrestling hardcore sphere. But nothing wrong with watching a 30-minute cool documentary
Absolutely
talking
not.
about hardcore and other things. So
I will say it's good too. One of my other biggest takeaways from that doc as well is that he was not super young when he started training to be a professional wrestler. I want to say it was 27 or 28 when he started training to be a professional wrestler. And there's a piece in that documentary where him and his wife are speaking on just how much time and dedication he had to the craft and the art of wrestling. And he had promised her, he said, if after 5 years I'm not successful in this, I'll never look back. I'm done with it. I'll walk away. And like, it shows. And I there's definitely something to be said about the fact that he is simply just a natural, because he is so good at what he does. But I think that it was a reminder that we could all use, that it's just really truly never too late to like completely shift your life and up and 180 it.
yeah, that's like
Because
me, like a year later, because I'm 29 now. That's like Spencer being like, I'm gonna be a pro wrestler and I'm gonna do it in 4 years. But
that's
like,
what I mean.
it like I've said this on multiple podcasts, and it's something I believe. It's like everybody is one thing away from it exploding, and that could be one podcast, one demo, one wrestling thing. And I feel like showing up and being able to just like continue to try. And like, I think to Brody's credit, I think when you're in a relationship with someone or you got other responsibilities, and something is taking up that much amount of time, to be transparent and being like setting a, not like a time limit, but being like, I have X amount of time to really just go hard and go after it. And most times, from what I've heard from people, is like it's within the 11th hour that it actually happens. But
Yeah.
I think it's just really cool. Earlier today, Jordan and I were on a call just brainstorming for people that we want to get for the end of season 2 of the podcast, and I'm like, I think it's time to go after Brody King, and I feel like this is just extra
I think
encouragement for
so.
me. I
Yeah,
really
I
just
think
want to
so.
talk to him about what was it like playing FYA and have to be the band to break the news that Bob Saget passed away while you were playing your set? That's my burning question that I need to ask.
That was a big week for him too, because he debuted on AEW that same week,
Yes.
days after FIA ended. Is that not only did he have to break the news about Bob Saget dying, but then he just like made his huge debut with AEW, which was like that's crazy. I think it is. I hope that we're manifesting it right now.
We are
We're manifesting.
Clip this clip before my future interview with Brody King.
Yeah.
It's dope. Again, that doc will be linked in the description of the video.
Highly recommend. Give it a thumbs up on YouTube. It deserves it.
Tell them Scoped and Spencer and Jessa sent you. So this is a section where we're changing topics here, but this is a section that I want to bring up. And I think everyone has talked about how much Turnstile is blowing up off of this latest release. And I think everyone was like super jazzed and excited about the whole Seth Meyers, for me in my lifetime, that was the first time I had ever seen a hardcore band played on like a late night show. So to me, that felt like, oh my gosh, like how, like what more could happen? And then I
think we talked about this a little bit on the Scopies. We were talking about Turnstile playing.
Right. Yeah. We did talk about that. So, and I've heard it from friends who like work a little bit more heavily in the industry on how much Turnstile is like kind of exposing people to hardcore and how like booming, how booming that is. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like it might be like, this is a cool band, but some people might think it's like a punk band or like a rock band kind of, I don't know. But then, and I'll put it here, I saw Turnstile share a photo of most of the band with fucking Demi Lovato of all people. And her caption is, my favorite band, Turnstile, in brackets, and my favorite hat, apparently. And I'm like, I cannot process, like, and I'm speaking as someone that like watched Demi Lovato when she was on like fucking Disney Channel and all that shit. And now she's like an actual, like, I don't know, would you say Demi Lovato's a
shout out Camp Rock? Or that's all I'm gonna say.
Shout out who? Okay.
Camp Rock.
It's so funny that you said that, because I watched a video where someone was like, the person playing the piano during the Camp Rock like big climactic part is like not actually even pressing down on the keys, but it's like the music is going. It's just like beep, beep, beep.
Stop. Yeah, I would consider her a pop star, I guess.
But is she like B-list or A-list?
Oh, not B-list. She's not Beyonce.
Yeah, she maybe had jumped up to A, but like, maybe it's like,
she's not Beyonce, Lady Gaga. She's like
A minus.
Yeah, sure. If that, I'd say B-list is fair, but she's
sure.
I mean, it's Demi Lovato.
It's bananas, and like
that's crazy.
And like when I saw, because this post, as far as the time we're recording this, is like 2 days old, but I went to her Instagram and she had like, I kid you not, Jessa, like a dozen stories of her like recording Turnstile, like screaming mystery. And I'm like, I don't understand the world that we live in now, because for us, it's like hardcore's this like cool underground thing. All of our friends like it. And like, it's this, there's an extra cool factor based off the larger world not knowing about it. And I'm like, Demi Lovato knows. Like, does Demi Lovato fuck with Step to Rhythm? Like, I don't understand.
I sure hope so. And it's funny you say that, because I drove up home from deep down south. I had a 40-minute drive home yesterday, and I listened to old Turnstile the whole way, and it was great. And it was a nice little TBT moment with myself, because it holds up. It holds up. I love new Turnstile. I love what they've done. I'm not even going to sound like a broken record here, because I've said this all on the Scopies, but I just, something about those old EPs just like really touches my heart. So I hope I don't put it past Demi Lovato to be super fucking cool and to like old Turnstile.
The next thing is Demi Lovato posts with Brody King. My second favorite band, God's Hate.
God's Hate. Could you imagine? Wow, that'd be so dope. This is what we need to. We're gonna have to have a segment eventually of just like celebrities and hardcore bands.
Yes.
And celebrities that like hardcore bands.
You know, we're saying, okay, if we're giving Demi a B-list celebrity tag, like I was like, oh man, this could be something I could talk about alone. But then I find a video of Stereo Gum from Stereo Gum of Dave Grohl shouting out his current favorite bands, and he's like, that band Turnstile, I really, really like that band.
You can't beat seeing a live rock band. If it's a great band and they're on stage and it's real, like, oh, Turnstile's really cool too. I like Turnstile.
Are they paying people for these ads now? Do they just have a really good agent? And they're like, we just need to pay a bunch of celebrities to say this is my favorite band. That's all we got to do. I mean, it'd be a good band, but that's really cool though.
All these clips and
not saying that these people can't like Turnstile. I'm just saying like that's a coincidence.
Like it would just be weird if it's like, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson and I want to talk to you about my favorite band, Turnstile.
It's actually just cameos being posted on the internet.
you know the record Time and Space? Well, that caught my attention right away. It's just wild. And I think a question from me, and maybe we can talk about this, Jess, is like, who's next? Like Turnstile, I think musically definitely has elements that lean in that, like, especially with the new album with like some of the poppiness and electronic stuff that they've mixed in. But I'm just wondering, like, who's next? Is there? Because I know, like,
Anxious, One Step Closer.
That's interesting. A
hill I'll die on. I had a moment. So I have to my right, I have all like a couple of my Sound and Fury posters from previous years and years that I've gone to. And the year that Have Heart did their reunion, the Thursday night show, I want to say the Thursday night show, not the fest set, the other show that they had played 2 LA dates around Sound and Fury. Anxious opened for them. And I don't even remember that. I love Anxious now, and their latest record is like so good. They're heading out on tour with Boston Manor, I want to say, and Higher Power. A couple other bands on that tour. They're blowing up. Like they're doing really, really well for themselves. But I think that they get that like weird pocket of people who aren't really in hardcore but kind of know about it the way that Turnstile started to before they like really, really blew up. And I would, that's a hill I'll die on. That's my get. You asked the question, I'm giving you an answer. Anxious. And if not Anxious, then One Step Closer. I could see taking the same kind of route.
Yeah, it's just wild to be like the Foo Fighter man fucks with Turnstile. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Foo Fighter man.
Like the guy that like played in Nirvana is like, yo, this band.
I'm never calling
Mr. Foo
Dave Grohl
himself
ever again.
It's also really funny because my boss hates Dave Grohl. Well, hate is a strong word. Let me
he has
backtrack a little bit.
With Dave Grohl, huh? I feel like this is not the first time.
Let me just say that during an extensive work meeting during a trip, someone brought up Foo Fighters, and we got sidetracked for 30 minutes about how Dave Grohl is like not the best musician. Or
so
as critically acclaimed as he should be. And I was I don't know. It's just hilarious. So I'm like, so Dave Grohl never on the podcast? He's like, well, I'm not saying that, but you know. It's so funny. I'm like, it is that thing where I'm like, if Dave Grohl comes on the podcast ever, I'm gonna have to like delete all the episodes where you're mentioning how he's like whatever. Like I'm just speaking, I feel like for myself, I'm impartial with Dave Grohl. I like some Foo Fighter songs. I like that he likes Turnstile, so he gets more
Yeah,
points in my
that's
department.
cool. That's cool.
Mhm.
Should we move on to our next? Are the meat and potatoes? The meat and
The
potatoes, says the
fucking
vegan.
vegan steak of it all.
The reason we're here? No, the most exciting part of our episode. Let's call it
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So as I alluded at the top of the episode, LDB Fest,
LDB. Yeah.
LDB. And yeah, there's a ton of sick bands. I think there's a lot of things that we can add some thoughts on when it comes to, some of these bands are coming back for round 2 of LDB. Some it's like their very first time in Louisville altogether.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, so Jessa, take us away we're going to do pre-show, day 1, day 2, and then after show.
Yeah, we'll do an overview. Have you ever been to LDB? Is a
Me,
better question to start at. Yeah.
no, unfortunately not.
Shame.
And
That is a shame. Fantastic time. Great time. Here to say that. My favorite part about LDB, honestly, is the fact that it's grown from such a I call it like a homey thing, because if you look back, especially prior to rebranding, it used to be called Midwest Blood. Those of us who've been around for a while know why it's not, but they did a rebranding in about 2018. They rebranded to LDB Fest, Life and Death Brigade. Not to be mistaken with the label, very much connected, but put on by separate people, all friends in bands together, I believe, and so on. So in the family, but different people. Shout out to Louisville. It's been one of those fests that started small. It was just a place for people from all over the Midwest, obviously, to come together, hang out for a weekend, and just see their friends and play a big, cool gig, similar to kind of how we saw what was at the time called Western Front, and what is now Wild Rose Hardcore Fest. When it came back after many years of not happening anymore, we saw that, just a place for people in Western Canada to all meet up once a year and hang out. And now we've seen it grow to something beyond, I think, a lot of people's imagination. So LDB's very clearly done the same thing, and this is going to be the biggest year yet for those folks, and I am so excited and so happy to be a part of it, because the venue that they used prior to this year, I don't think for very long, I think just for the 2 years before, was a indoor skate park, really, really cool venue, but hard to fit any more people than what they did in there, I presume is a part of it. And they're moving over to a venue called Art Sanctuary, which I've never been to. Of course, I'm not from Kentucky, so not sure how that's going to be, but I trust them to put on a good fest, and so I trust that they've made their choice and they've made it wisely. So I'm really excited to see. But the lineup speaks for itself as far as the scale up that they have gone this year. So let's just get into it, I guess.
Before we do that, I just wanted to add that we got to have Ryan come on the podcast and talk a little bit more about the history of the fest, and him and Alex coming together to do that. And
we should link that episode in the bio.
Yep, that'll be
Put that
lower.
down there.
And I really appreciate him coming on, because obviously we're both really big fans of LDB and what he and Alex have done. And it was I knew that is not in his norm, because Ryan is a very quiet dude. He likes to kind of step back and allow the other people, the bands specifically, to shine. And so I felt very honored and special to be able to talk to him about it on the podcast. So shout out to Ryan and shout out to Alex as well. And yeah, let's get into the lineup.
Hell yeah. Let's start with the pre-show happening on Thursday. What would that make it? Thursday, March 10th, 2022. That pre-show is happening. I did not write down the venue name, but there's still tickets available as of when we're recording this. The pre-show is happening at a place
With
called Portal.
Portal.
Never been there. I think so. I think it's called Portal. Their logo kind of looks like a V, but I assume it's an O.
Okay.
Portal, whatever. Tickets available at ldbfest502.com. If you happen to be going down for the weekend and you haven't gotten a pre or post show ticket yet, last I checked, there were still tickets to both. So come and take part. For this reason, Spencer, you want to take it away with the lineup? Do you have a list in front of you?
It's crazy that I was talking to Jessa as we were prepping for this. Like 50% of this pre-show is like California bands, because I think not last year, but the 2020 lineup of LDB definitely had a lot of California presence. You know, you had the
Hands
you
of
had the
God,
Drains, Hands of God.
Dare was there, Tsunami.
Dare. So
see, Tsunami didn't play. Sorry, that was a Hands of God.
Or did they?
The Tsunami.
Didn't they play to a degree?
They kind of did. They kind of did.
Kind of did.
We got a little taste of Tsunami that day, but there was definitely a heavy. Oh, Dead Heat was there as well. A very heavy California presence at the last LDB, so I'm not surprised by this at all.
Yeah. And you know, there are other California bands on the main days, but to see so many packed on the pre-show is very, very cool. So headlining is Dare again. I'm curious if they're going to have the giant inflatable X's that they had.
I hope so.
I
think that'll be really cool for them as well, because Trey Garris is now drumming for them.
True.
And he is as Kentucky local as they come.
Right. So and if you're not moshing for the youngin of the Garris family at the pre-show, shame.
Yeah. So Dare, also very cool to see Dare headlining a show this big.
Yes.
So can we talk about the doors are at 4, which I'm all for. This bill is awesome and worth it. I am so old. I'm so tired even just thinking about this weekend. I'm gonna need a lot of Red Bull or something.
You need that
coffee.
You need that pomegranate Red Bull.
Hit me with those good coffee places in Louisville, please.
Mm-hmm. But you should try the pomegranate Red Bull, because that's the
I have. It's delicious.
Oh, you have had it. Okay, right.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've been down there. Tons.
I've been down there. I've had the juice.
The juice. Next to Dare is Momentum. Huge shout out.
You might see some other 9-year-olds who are moshing for the first time during this set.
You never know. Who knows? Modern Color, who I'm very excited to see. That's a band that I have one of my favorite bands. That a lot of people should know this, but one of my favorite bands is Balance and Composure. Just like it's like a nostalgic thing for me. And Modern Color is very much just in that realm.
Yes.
Of sonically, at least, very much in the realm of old Balance Composure when I was very young. So they tug on my heartstrings a little bit. So I'm really excited to finally see them.
And we love them because they've come up through Western Canada multiple times, I will say. Yeah. So we love Modern Color on the Scoped Exposure podcast.
Yeah. Mouth for War, Exit Strategy, Sick Band, Exit Strategy, Gagging Order, The Boys, World I Hate. I'm gonna special shout out to World I Hate. If you have not listened to World I Hate, please stop sleeping. Listen to their latest release. It is so fucking good.
Please stop sleeping. Wake up. Wake up,
Oh man.
world I hate.
Gavin, shout out Marked for Life, had first played one of their tracks on the podcast, and that's how I first heard them. And now some of them are my best friends. They're like, because I've spent so much time in Milwaukee in the last 6 months that I've like become very good friends with a couple of them. So very excited to see them playing this pre-show. And then opening it up is Sleep Away, who I've actually never listened to. And I think I'm going to blind react to it. I'm like 50-50. Sometimes I like to blind react and I like to go to shows and really just get like a feel for a band live for the first time instead of like having an idea of what they're like. But I don't know how you feel about somebody that films shows. Do you like doing that, or do you prefer to know
All the
kind of
time.
what you're getting into? Okay.
All the time. Because
Yeah.
it's like, it's so rewarding for me when I can anticipate when that band is like doing that snare fill into like the 2-step part, and I can have that whip pan, and I'm like,
Yeah.
because you can't research that. You can't like,
No.
oh, this is the shot that I'm gonna do. It's like a
Yeah.
very fluid thing. So I would say 99% of the time I'm not looking bands up prior. Like literally, it's funny that you bring this up. Promcore, I maybe knew, there was a couple homies bands, but I would say 75% of the bands I didn't know about. And Aaron, shout out to Aaron from Promcore, I was staying with him, and he was like, have you heard of this Omerta band? And I had never listened to them before, so I was like, oh yeah, like I kind of like, I've seen the vibe through their content, so I'm kind of expecting something. He's like, bro, you need to listen to this right now. And I was like, there was a split second where I was like, no, don't show me, because I want to have this blind reaction. I was like, honestly, it's fine. And then he showed me, and it was like, oh, even one song is, it's not even anything. But I had this realization when we said gagging order, because we didn't really like talk about them. I knew that Chance, who is the infamous Fubu man from FYA, who was like diving on everyone in a ridiculous way. I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to be at FYA as well. And I'm just going to go on record and say that Fest should book bands who have like people in the bands who are ridiculous mosh mutants. I don't care. Like, Gagging Order is a fantastic band. Let me just say that first. And the fact that they have someone who's like as ridiculous in the pit is just, that makes your festival experience so much better.
So when he went viral during FYA, I saw a couple of tweets, but I was like, fuck yeah. Cause a couple of tweets that were like, I hope everyone gives this man's band as much attention as you're giving his moshing.
Exactly.
Because it's like fully so deserving. So it should be fun. And then I saw them on the bill, but I had not even made that connection that like, oh, that means I just get to watch him mosh like a crazy person for the whole weekend too. Cool. That's gonna be fun. I'm very excited to finally see Gagging Order live, because I've never seen them.
Yeah, they played very early day 1 of Promcore. And yeah, like very, very, I think he was wearing a balaclava the entire time, so it adds an extra cool factor. But yeah, it's just, man.
Speaking of
I would see,
should I bring
there
this
you go.
with me?
Yeah,
it's my God.
You should wear it during Gagging Order set. If I don't get a video of you wearing that during Gagging Order set, I'll be upset.
Now you've put it on record. I'm gonna get bullied if I don't.
But it was funny. Anytime people were posting about Fubu Man, I would comment on him like, he has a name and a band.
Yeah, listen to Gagging
I would
Order.
tag both of them.
Yeah. Hilarious. Yeah, that should be good. Should
so
we get into
badass pre-show?
Badass pre-show. That's badass pre-show that feels like a day one, because the lineup is so good and it starts so early.
Yeah.
No, very excited. Really, really a fun way to kick off the weekend, just seeing a bunch of friends play in a smaller space. So
yes,
it should be good. Get your tickets if you are listening to this when it comes out and you are going to be in Kentucky next weekend.
So day 1, instead of starting at the top and going to the bottom, I'm going to start at the bottom. And for the record, this is going off of the poster. I don't know if this is the order of the bands for the actual
Yeah.
day. So,
I also, disclaimer, I guess, we could talk forever about all of these bands, and I think that there's a lot that between the Scopies and things that are going to be coming up, we will not be going in depth into a lot of the bands that are on this bill, but
right.
rather just gonna chat about what stands out and anything that we feel is just is notable going into this weekend. But this the lineup itself is just so stacked. There's no way this episode would be 6 hours long if we try to talk about every single band. So let's just say that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Go ahead.
Okay. First, well, again, going off the poster, Weapon X, first show, debut, big fucking deal. Vatican, coming back for LDB off of the very hype Nintendo Switch viral explosion from 2019's year,
Right.
which I'm excited to see if there's even more Switch people. Tsunami, first time in Louisville, I think,
Shout
which is
out.
going to be insane. Restraining Order, Reign of Salvation. I actually found out about Reign of Salvation through the 2019 set videos. And I was like, holy crap, who is this band? Because people were just going the fuck off. So cool that they're back on there. Queensway. I'm going to butcher this name. So apologies. Phobophilic,
I think.
Phobophilic?
Don't quote me.
I'm going to say phobophilic. That's going to be my guess.
Okay.
Pain of Truth, which is
I've heard
sick.
that, by the way. I've heard that band that neither of us know exactly how their name is pronounced. I've heard they are badass.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. Not in
I think
my,
so. They're
not in my realm of
playing
taste
the
usually,
main
but
day and the after show.
yeah, they're playing the post show
So
as well.
they're dope enough of a band to play 2 spots.
Yeah.
So that's sick. Pain of Truth, which is going to be
Long
Irresponsible.
Island shows absolutely.
Koyo, Ingrown, big ups to the
Shout
Boise
out!
boys.
I'm so excited. We're coming off of, I've mentioned this before, and I told you I'd stop at Ingrown. I just can't help myself. This is coming off of like months and months of me trying to see Ingrown and having to miss it because somebody catches COVID. Me, them, something has happened, and I saw them in September, so it's not like I haven't seen them since the new LP was released, but it has been
We are it will be a long awaited enjoyable set. I'm stoked that they're getting the level of recognition that they so well deserve. I remember when they were just here in Calgary, and it was like just crazy. Like, 30, 40 people just going off to this like power violence band, and now to see them getting opportunities like FYA or LDB or anything else that they probably have coming down the pipe. So we love Ingrown. We love Boise.
Love it.
To finalize the day.
Definitely keep your eyes, that note, just really quickly, definitely keep your eyes out on Ingrown, especially if you're in Canada. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Gel, touring a ton before and after LDB. They're on tour right now as we record this. How long that tour is, I'm not sure. They went out on a couple dates in the Northeast with Spaced from Buffalo. So check out, and I know they're hitting kind of the Midwest, and I don't know how far they're going, but they're hitting a couple other places after LDB. I know they're playing Milwaukee shortly after. So try to catch Gel if you're not going to LDB, but you're in the area. Definitely don't want to miss that. Drain
coming back, round 2
coming back. Love that, and again, I've already mentioned it, but so excited to see them not once but twice next week. So we'll see how that goes. See if I live to the fest. Inclination, Louisville Legends.
Did they play 2020?
Legends.
You were at that fest.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not straight edge. I like Inclination. I fuck with Inclination. but I'm not straight edge. So
I
they
think
very well may have. They certainly played 2019. That I can say
that was
for
the
a
year Tyler
fact.
was on crutches.
Yes, that's why I remember it. But if they played last year, I simply don't remember.
This is worth fact checking for me. Because I was going to be like, oh, at least we can get 1 year with Tyler not on crutches.
Yeah, right.
But
while you do that, fill us in when you find it. Zabalba is playing their Midwest 15-year anniversary show. They're playing a number of pretty big shows all around the US. I think
they did play
possibly
2020.
even going. Okay, see, there you go. Not straight edge. There's just so many bands. Zabalba playing the 15-year anniversary show. They're playing a bunch of those, so that should be really, really exciting. Closing off day 1. That'll be a lot of fun. And day 2 actually makes my brain hurt because it's so stacked. I'm like, when am I gonna do anything? I'm gonna have to watch, like, don't get me wrong, like, I love watching 1, 2, 3.
This is just counting right now. The amount of bands.
16 bands in one day, but I usually count on there being at least a handful that I just don't really care about or don't know, so I'm like okay with missing a set to get like fresh air, some food, a drink, maybe, whatever. I don't have that, so let's get into it.
Wait, before you do,
uh-huh,
I was like, how many bands did I film for Prom Core Day 2?
Was it
Because that
24?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 2. Yeah,
Speed
20.
this up. Yeah. Oh wow, really? What a guess.
Yeah.
That was just a guess off the. So yeah, it's a lot. It can be a lot, and I missed half of
12 and
the sets at
above is a
Prom Core.
lot.
Yeah, respect to the people who are putting on 16 to
Respectfully,
24 band days,
over 12
but
is a
like
lot.
I'm not 20 anymore. I'm far too close to 30 to be watching 24 bands in one day.
Yeah.
Wish I could be in 2 places at once. So 200 stab wounds. Usually sonically not my thing, but I'm very excited because I feel like, especially live, I feel like, you know, you can hear some mosh parts, but like I feel like live it's gonna just go crazy, and I think that people going off to them is gonna make me like them. Is usually what happens when something's like a little too death metal-y for my liking, I'll say. Is seeing them in a live setting is always
I feel
great.
like a lot of these death metal bands that Ryan and Alex have chosen are like well in line to be consumed properly by hardcore kids. So
yeah, exactly. Year of the Knife, Undeath, Two Witnesses, Standstill. Already talked about them, but Omerta from Texas, right?
Yes.
No Pressure, which should be fun. I'm about to expose myself here. I slept on No Pressure. Huge Story So Far fan from like my teenage years. Was that bitch when I was 18, 19. I can't lie. So I'm excited to see, because it just feels like a second coming of.
Can I just say something? I feel like we've all wanted that really nostalgic Story So Far sound and style.
Yes.
And I feel like I don't know if it was intentionally done or unintentionally. I've wanted to have Parker on the podcast for fucking ever. Yeah. But I feel like it was like, well, maybe we can't do it with this band, so at least I can do it with this band. And it is so cool to see. Like, I think No Pressure is a hardcore band, in my opinion.
He's also
it has singing, but I like watching it live. It's a hardcore band.
He's also been very very vocal about the fact that No Pressure is always going to be DIY. Never say he's been very clear about it, so I agree.
There's no pressure to get signed or do anything that they don't want to.
Good one. Next on here is Magnitude. I saw Magnitude at the last LDB that happened. Again, I'm not straight edge. Again, about to expose myself. That set hit me so deep in the fucking soul. I got a Magnitude tattoo that summer.
Damn. Is it an
It's
X?
not a straight edge. No. Fuck no. It's a coffin. I would show you if I was not in such an awkward setup right now. But it says to whatever faithful end, and then it's a coffin with a reaper inside of it. And
Cool.
Again, not straight edge. Maybe some people, I've already had some people poke fun of me for having a Magnitude tattoo, and I'm not straight edge, but I don't know. They just something deep in my soul happened when I watched them play live that I was undeniable. So there's that. I'm excited to see them again. MH Chaos. Yeah. King 9.
Chaos. Sorry.
Chaos. King 9. Gates to Hell. Ballista. Age of Goddamn Apocalypse. Okay. Age of Apocalypse. That's
it's so weird because I know that we're just going through these bands, but most of these bands could headline this fest.
Yeah.
With Peace and Love.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. I thought day one was stacked. This is equally as stacked, if not more.
Mind Force. God's Hate, which I'm very excited for a lot of people. Anybody who wasn't at FYA, I'm excited for them to see God's Hate live. Incredible. And closing out day 2 is a longtime favorite of mine personally, is Incendiary from Long Island.
Yeah. Fuck.
Are they considered legends now? I would say so, but I'm a bias because they were.
I think that they are an S tier hardcore band.
Yeah,
I'll go on record to say that.
Yeah. So that's the main fest. It sold out. So if you heard that and said,
if you didn't die in day 1, you'll definitely die in day 2.
Absolutely. And if you saw it and said, damn, that sounds cool. Sorry. I guess you're just going to have to get them next year. But I'm very excited. I will come back with the mosh report. I'll come back with highlights and all of that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Now the post show is so outside of my norm. I'm going because I'm going to be there, but actually I'm going for 2 bands, but I'm going for mainly one band. So we've got the post show is on Sunday night after the fest at Mag Bar. Opening it up, we've got Gates to Hell. Shout out Gates to Hell. Going on the road a couple times this spring already announced. Very excited and hoping to have them up to Canada in the next year. We'll see. They're so busy with LDB stuff that it's like not even a question until that festival.
Ryan's like, don't talk to me until LDB is over.
Literally. Volcano. Okay, if you listen to Spencer's episode of Listen Up that just happened, you guys shout out this song by Volcano and that single that they dropped, and like I had never heard of this band before at all, like at all. I think this is their demo. Do they have more music other than
they've released 2 songs, and I think that they have like
but aside from that, there's nothing, right?
Yeah, like I think it's funny because Daze is putting out this release. Shout out to Lumpy. And when he posted the original single, he just tagged like at Volcano on Instagram, which is just an Instagram account of Volcano.
About volcanoes. Yeah, exactly.
But I think
ass beating music.
It's ass beating music, but I think this is like a band from other people of other bands, but I don't know who is the main thing. That regardless though, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The artwork is just someone's entire face exploding due to a baseball bat.
Phobophilic. Again, I should have done this before, but
we love you. Sorry we can't pronounce your name.
correct me if I'm wrong, Undeath, and then you take it away because I have never heard of this band before and I cannot pronounce that.
Sango Sugabog.
How did you learn that?
I had on episode 2 of the podcast with James.
That
He
makes
manages
sense.
that band.
Say it again.
For all the people in the back and Jessa, Sango Sugabog.
Okay. Again,
They're sick. I'm so excited for you to see them.
I'm gonna be blind reacting to it because again, this whole show is like generally like out of my I'm like a huge beatdown fan, so like when you start getting into like death metal and like anything that's really metallic, it's like not something that I'm tuned into really, but I fuck with it, and seeing it live is always so good. So I'm looking forward to this show too. Realistically, post shows or after shows are always just me sitting half dead trying to listen because I'm so exhausted and usually like probably hungover. Like I'm half alive. So we'll see if I'm a real person. I hope to be able to mosh the volcano if I have the energy. So every time, I've heard this from a couple people, every time I look at this lineup, somebody new is popping up. Every time I listen to the playlist that's on Spotify, I go, holy shit, wait, what? This person's playing? Like it just continues to surprise me. So shout out to LDB and shout out to the folks who worked so hard over the last year and dealt with the cancellation of the last one and are just finally getting back to it. I'm so excited to be back in your presence, and I wish you could be joining us, Spencer, but I'll have to just
it was so close, and I think with just some work things
you're
in
doing
the mix,
just as cool stuff in LA though. I'm jealous you get to be in the sunshine. I know I get a little bit of it, but
I'll put on record that I definitely will be at the next one.
There you go. Okay, counting on it
for multiple reasons, but that's for another time.
Wink, wink. Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Cool. So
we skip the survey and then hit that next week?
Yes, please. I would.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. I'm so hungry. Jordan, cut this out, please.
I'm hungry too. Jordan, don't cut this out.
All right. So last but certainly not least, before we head out here, what's some new shit that's come out recently? I know you just did a listen up episode, so
yeah,
kind of
tons of
chance to share some stuff.
I think that there was actually more cool stuff that I found this month, which is a lot shorter than January than January.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
A couple things that we want to highlight. Twist of Cain out of Southern California dropped probably like the most circulated demo that I've seen this year so far.
My favorite demo of the past year and a bit for sure. Produced by Jesse Price and mixed and mastered by Townsend and self-released, as far as I know. So
I actually featured one of their tracks on the February listening party podcast and alluded, and I'll just allude again to I'll be having Josh, guitar player of this band and drummer of Momentum and Vamakara on the podcast very soon. We got to set it up after LDB because he's busy obviously till then.
He's busy. Yeah, exactly. Next one we want to highlight is Gridiron. I'm gonna let you take this one because I haven't listened to it yet because I'm sleeping apparently.
Listen up, everybody. This is the best Gridiron song to date. I'm gonna go on record and say it.
Okay.
I'm kind of pissed that you haven't listened to it yet, Jessa, honestly.
I'm sorry. I'm going to do it.
It's that good. It's super groovy. The rap infused vocals in this beatdown space is like such a breath of fresh air versus having this super pissed like beatdown yell like guttural whatever. Like the fact that someone is literally spitting bars over like actual fight music is so sick.
Okay, you've sold me.
I'm unbelievably excited about this upcoming record. coming out in Triple B. Shout out to the Gridiron sweatsuit. Very tempted to buy that myself.
Shout out to that whole merch shop. There's a Gridiron sweatsuit. There's a Ford Trucks Rip shorts, and there's a football. Like, come on. Hard. I didn't listen to the track, but I saw the merch.
Gridiron
shop,
built tough.
It's fucking hilarious. I love it. All right. Yeah, shout out Gridiron. Very excited. Looking forward to what they do next and what they've been working on. Last but absolutely not least, friends of the pod for sure. Trench released a single from their upcoming LP. It's coming out on New Damage Records. That single is called Be All End All. It's on all streaming platforms, and I encourage you all to go and check it out.
I'm gonna quickly correct the record. It's actually just an EP, not an LP. That's coming out. So it's all good.
Thank you for knowing that.
Encased in Chrome coming out on March 18th. So just around the corner, really soon here.
Yeah.
I've gotten to listen to one other single from it because we recorded with Tommy and Tony, and oh my goodness, y'all are in for some treats, I will say. We love Trench.
Less.
We love the gang, Green Gang, as I like to call them. That's a Powerpuff Girls reference for anyone who pays attention. And before we end the episode, let's shout out some shows that are happening in Western Canada because they're coming back.
They sure are.
We're back, baby.
Hot. I just announced this morning Denial of Life playing Calgary on April 3rd. That show was just announced, but that whole tour is coming up. Roses. We've got Kelowna, which is so exciting for me. Already sold out, cool. But if any other tickets become available, I'll post on the Damage Control Instagram. And they're playing Vancouver right before that, Edmonton on the 2nd, Calgary on the 3rd, and then they're hitting Boise on their way home back to Tacoma. So make sure that you hit one of those dates if you are in the area. Tickets for my show particularly are up on the website, damagecontrol.store. You can grab some tickets for $5 off if you go and buy them first. So check that out. Love it. Just before that, though, Witness Chamber and Apex Predator are heading up to Vancouver, playing with a bunch of our friends from Van City. So we've got Incision, Culminate, Cleaver, and Groza is playing a show again, which is exciting. Me and Spencer were doing our pre-show call and took a look at Apex Predator's Instagram, and I just need to say shout out to meme bands, because if you can make me laugh with your Instagram, I don't care if your music could be something I hate entirely, and I will still ride for it because it's hilarious. My personal favorite is a picture of cargo shorts, like khaki cargo shorts, and an Apex Predator tee. And it says, look good. The caption is, look good, feel good, look hard, mosh hard. And I was like, wow, that really touched me in the feels. So you should go to that show, if for anything, for that band's humor, because it's great. And then we've got Endgame in Calgary playing a show. Spencer, you guys are playing with Calling All Captains. That's March 26th at the Gateway. You can get tickets online. Link is in Endgame's bio, Calling All Captains bio.
It should be in our bio.
Instagram.
I'll change it.
Should be, yeah. Should be in the bio. Grab tickets to that. We've got a ton of other shit happening, but we've got other episodes, so I'm just gonna leave it there if you've got nothing to add.
No, there's a ton of great shows, and I think there's more to plug once we're back for the second episode of Through Our Lens. I'm really excited about this endeavor because it allows Jessa and I to have all the crazy things about hardcore that we naturally want to talk about and be like, put it into something and be able to share it with people. I hope, all the cool releases or bands that we talked about, that you go check those out. And again, all the links of the stuff that we talked about will be in the show notes. Thank you again for listening to the debut episode of Through Our Lens, and we'll see you next time. Any final words that you want to end us off with, Jessa?
No, where can they find you on the interwebs?
On Instagram at Spicy Spence, but I don't give a fuck if you follow me. So
You should
you could
follow
do that.
Scope Exposure if you came across
Follow
us and
Scope
somehow
Exposure. Don't follow me.
Oh, yeah.
I just post videos of my dogs. That's if you're into
they're
that,
cute
follow.
dogs, to be fair. Yeah, and you can follow me at Damage Control WCHC for show updates if you're in the area, or I'm Hit Your Ex Head on Instagram personally. So
yeah, and
let's
follow Jordan,
connect.
our podcast producer. We love him.
Shout out Jordan, love you, Jordan.
Does Jordan
Don't
have
follow
any?
me.
Don't follow me.
No, don't follow him. But
I was like, I like to stay under the radar.
Appreciative of him. So
all right. Thanks for listening. Bye.